Welcome to Development Now. That's Dev Now. And Dev Now is a 360-degree media platform. What we try to do, and what we've been doing so far, is showcasing the success stories of development organizations. All right. That way you're able to see the amazing work they are doing into making the country a better place, irrespective of the sphere where they work, whether it's education, the legal space, health, what have you. All right. And I'm glad to say that this is episode 7. I saw you clapping. Just continue clapping there. Correct. So this is episode 7, and we're stepping into deep waters. All right. My name is Bumi Afolabi, also known as Mr. Speaker. These days, someone did not even say Mr. Development. Ben said Dr. Development. He wrote me an SMS.
Okay.
He said Dr. Development.
I think that works.
All right. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Development, Dr. Development, no problem. Anyone works. This is Development Now. You're welcome. As always, I'm not alone. I have the one and the only Ugona Uwajumogu.
Welcome to another episode of Dev Now, Development Now. This is episode 7. 7 is a very special number, so I know that today is another special day, even more special than the others, because we are talking to...
Gang. All right, so we're talking to a very special person, all right? I'll just tell you, I'm not going to go very formal on it. Yeah, he started from print, in the media, print media, and then he went into TV and radio. Now he's on the NGO CSO side, as a civil society side, and he's the executive director of PRIMORG. Now, PRIMORG is the Progressives Impact Organization for Community Development. I'll say that again.
Say that again.
Yeah. ED, Executive Director. You know that already, right?
Okay.
PRIMORG. Of course, you can see that on the screen now.
Okay.
So PRIMORG, Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development. We have the one and the only Mr. Okhiria Augustine Agbonsuremi. You're welcome,
Welcome
sir.
to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. And I must quickly say that this is a very novel area that you are into. Also supporting organizations to make impact. And I've watched some of your episodes, some full, some halfway, and I can tell you that they hit the chord.
Wow.
And that there's a lot of job out there for you to really do, because before you know it, almost everybody will want to add you to their impact trail.
Amen to that.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you very much for coming through. So I'll just give a quick brief about PRIMORG, and then we'll just get into it. They've done so much in 6 years. Yes, 6 years. I can almost talk about PRIMORG from my head, because I knew, I met them about the time they started.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's so much I can say about PRIMORG, but he's here. He'll be doing more of the talking. But, for a brief, PRIMORG is a leading non-governmental organization based in Nigeria, of course, dedicated to fostering positive change and empowerment within communities. At PRIMORG, they believe in the transformative power of citizen engagement, participation, and inclusion in governance processes. So when you start hearing governance processes, you know that they are big on fighting corruption.
Yeah.
All right. And much of our conversation today will be centered on a project which they are about rounding off. All right. And they've been using radio and the social media as a tool, to fighting corruption. Okay. I will let him, when it's time for the NGO jargons, he will do those ones. Me, I'll just speak in the layman term, because that's one of the things that we're trying to do with Dev Now. We're already getting good feedback with that. We try to demystify what NGOs do, break some of those complex terms. We just bring them down like that. Okay. So, but before we start talking about the project, I want to start with him to ask, why did you, when you made the transition from being on the media side, that's radio, TV, to now using media to fight corruption, as you're doing now with PRIMORG, what was that? What brought that spark? At what point did you say, this is what I want to do, let's get it done?
Well, I've always actually done advocacy all my journalism life. I started the journalism on the Guardian newspapers, where I stayed about 9 years. I was on the judicial and political desk, and if you are on the judiciary desk during the military regime, there's no way you will not be radicalized. There's no way you cannot run.
Were you ever locked up?
I was just
briefly harassment.
For how long, if you don't mind?
2 days, 3 days, and some of them a whole day. I mean, several times you go under, you just disappear for some time, and then you come up again.
Would your family know where you were?
Sometimes
they wouldn't know.
They don't. They were prepared for it. They know that you could go to work and you are not coming back. So as at that time, during the military regime, I started in the life of the started journalism during the Babangida regime, 1986, and we ran all through to 1999, through the Abacha period, through to Abdulsalami Abubakar period. The Abacha period was particularly very horrendous, was very, very bad. But then you could not be in the courts being a judicial correspondent and you are not radicalized as a reporter. You don't get angry with the system. You don't use your tools to want to join the civil society actors then, the Olisa Agbakoba of this world, in the Civil Liberties Organization, Michael Zekome, Clement Wankwo, Abdul Oro, all those who stood up, Ayo Obe, who stood up, set up the Civil Liberties Organization. One of the former, I think it's the first former civil society organization that was set up in Nigeria, and they were aimed essentially to bring about civil rule. And they were in court every day. Every day they were in court. People like Bekora Sonkuti set up a committee for the defense of human rights, CDHR, and they were virtually in court every day. They have one application to file every day. And we're there covering the processes. We saw the abuse. We saw people being released as a result of the actions that they took. We saw themselves being arrested, the Ganifa of this world who will come out and be on the street. So we were just like actors. And then that moved us into, essentially a group of us who were into it. Civil Liberties Organization was a membership organization. So we naturally registered as members of the organization. So we were with them, and then at some point it transited into finding the space for civil rule when they started to talk about. Remember, we talked about Daki. Is Babangida going to be a president and then have a civilian? Akomu had to retire, became vice president, and they implemented a lot of experiments.
Gen Zs, are you listening? I hope you are taking notes.
There were a lot of experiments with it, and we were all inside. And then it came to a point when Abacha came, the soft gloves that Babangida was using were dropped. The guy came up with the hard gloves, and it was like hit anybody that so many people ran, helter-skelter. Some journalists disappeared, but Gada Kato, we never saw his body any day. We never knew where he went to. He went to work, and he never. Tomorrow, we don't know what happened to him.
Wow.
So he was a journalist who was also in the with some people ran away out of the country. They ran out. So many journalists who I know today who are in Canada, in the US, in the UK, some of them ran away as a result of. They were not the only ones. There were civil society people that were also jailed. Politicians were jailed as well. And we transited from just being reporters to covering the activities of actors like Gani, like Bekoram Sonkuti, who was, and some of those who were actually also soft. They were not like out running on the street, like Tai Solarim then, who had his own voice and marching on the streets against the military rule. Then Adeko came.
Yeah.
We were actually literally junior members of NADECO.
Of
We
NADECO.
could be in their meeting. They would not worry about themselves. Well, they would just go ahead. They know that we are sympathetic.
You're like second 11.
We're just like young boys who pick the balls. So we're watching them. Watch their actions. Some of the actions that were taken in Lagos then were blocking the road, the Third Mainland Bridge. I remember that the late Prince Ademola Adeniji Adele of blessed memory, who was actually detained for about 18 months in Kaduna prison because he opposed Abacha. We were all together in those small. Even when MK Abiola, we were very few journalists who were in Ekpetedo when he made himself president.
When he declared that
Yeah,
he was
that was
president,
for
he
which
was
he
one who
was
won the
arrested. So
June 12 election.
I was already baked and prepared for this civil society work that I'm doing. And so to answer your question, how did the transition was already...
It was there already.
It was a natural
It was just
thing.
time to
It was just a natural thing for me.
Weren't you afraid? I'm bringing this up because I was born in the early 90s, 1991. So I would say I was born into a military regime, but I was too young to understand. I think by the time I was 8, we had moved on to democracy. But what I want to know is, like, where did the bravery come from? Because back then, we didn't really have that much of a voice, so anything could be done to you. Were you not afraid that you could lose your life?
With the fear was always there, but you really needed to ask yourself. I mean, sometimes you really ask yourself, what like I always ask, I was saying on radio, when your children and your grandchildren comes to your graveside, what are they going to say? I mean, when they come to your graveside, would they spit on your grave? Would they say, this is the grave of a man who stood and watched things happen, we didn't have a voice? Is that the kind of man you want to be described? You want your children to come and say, all the trouble that happened, this man just lived his life, he didn't have a voice in it. We were eager to put in some effort. It was not as if we really set out, went to some college or training to know how to do it, but we were just naturally there. So we had that self-encouragement to say, let us do it. And if you look at the caliber of people who were involved, we were not comfortable. Fela, for instance, was very comfortable.
Yeah.
I covered Fela trials so many times. He would be arrested, he would be detained, he would be taken out. And then we were there. He was a very comfortable person.
Yeah.
Bekwara
have several wives like that.
Sokriti was a medical doctor.
Yeah.
One of the richest lawyers you could find on the surface of the earth was Ganifa Oyemi. So if these people could say, look, put their life on the line, and Gani was virtually every day carrying his bag. He will carry a bag. He knows that when he goes out, he's not going to come back. So Abduoro, Elisa Agbakoba, Zekome, all of them, they had their time in jail, in detention. So we didn't have any reason to think that we were not going to be detained if it becomes necessary.
Yeah.
But some of us were extremely lucky that we were not shot, because several times we were told by people face to face that, look, we will waste you and nobody will know what happened to you.
And nobody would care.
And I will just tell them, if you think that is what is necessary for you to do,
then go ahead.
You can go ahead, because you see, we are not going to stop. And we had people, very strong people behind us, who also we saw, though they didn't tell us go ahead, but we knew that they had a lot of encouragement they gave to us. Persons like Chief Raymond Dokpesi of blessed memory, who I worked for in Ray Power
as the chairman of
Dark Communications.
He will call us and say, Mr. Agbonsuremi, if they arrest you, I will not be there. But that was a joke.
Yeah.
He was always there for us. He will tell us, I have sacked you. Just leave the premises. I have already written a letter of sack. I have sent it to them that you have been sacked. That is the only way I could defend anything. So for the next 2 weeks, you are sacked.
Stay away.
Just stay away from the office. Don't come near the office until we call you to come. We had Ambrose Shomide in that same category. We have Bayo Boduri in that same category. We were severally, in quote, sacked. Because they needed a letter to say, look, we don't want that person to work in that place again.
We've sacked him.
Yes.
And he would just write a letter, we have sacked. We never saw those letters.
He was the only one, him and them.
Yeah, him and them. We never saw those letters of sack. No. So if you have somebody you are working with who gives you that kind of cover, then you will not be afraid. You will not be afraid. And we're also positive that, I think one of the things that we're also positive that we cannot continue like this forever. Just the same way Nigeria is now.
Yeah.
I tell everybody that it may be very, very bad, but I don't think we are going to continue like this. Something must snap. We have to get out of it someday. So if you stop, it's like you are going on a long journey, and they tell you, and you are tired and you are weary, and they just say, just try. It takes, every step you can take, takes you to the destination. So the more you try to take the step, the more you get closer to your destination. Those were the kind of encouragement we had. And we don't need to stop. If we stopped, what is going to happen to the society? Yeah. What is going to happen to those who depended on us? I remember that on political platform on Ray Power FM, each time we after broadcasting, some people get lifted up. Once we speak the truth.
When you say lifted up, for the Gen Zs, they don't understand what lifted up means. Just say it the way it is.
They understand. I'm close to being a Gen Z. I am 5 years removed from being a Gen Z.
Auntie, you are a millennial. You are not. You hear me saying auntie?
Sir, I am 5 years away, or rather 5 years removed from being a Gen Z. If my parents had just waited 5 more years,
but they did
I
not
would
wait.
have been a Gen Z.
But they did not wait.
Unfortunately.
So you are a millennial. End of story. Please, when you say lifted, so that they understand, they don't think someone is in church lifting up holy hands. When you say lifted, please just tell them what it is.
Encouraged.
They are going to come for you.
They should come for me.
Yeah, encouraged. When people are, we got at some point in time on political platform, we had more letters that we could read.
Yeah, I recall.
In a day, we could get as much as 500. 1,000 letters.
We were listening anyway.
Yes, and people write to us. We just pick like 4 or 5 randomly that we can. People just write a line, just one single line, and say thank you.
Wow.
People were encouraged to continue in the hope that things will change. Then you can't stop. When you stop, what happens to those people who believe
in what you
are doing?
That brings me to a question I would like to ask, because you seem very lifted about Nigeria. You still believe in Nigeria despite everything that you have experienced over the last 30 or 40 years. I have conversations with people around my age and younger, and one thing I have noticed from the conversations is that they have this mindset that has given up on Nigeria. Honestly, I know a lot of people, and even myself, sometimes I look at Nigeria and I say, I have an uncle who spoke to me. He told me that he bought his Mercedes back in the 80s, I think for like 40 or 80, between 40 and 80,000 naira. And now, if you want to buy a Mercedes, go to the shop and check. You're looking at about 200 million naira. So that's how ridiculous inflation has been over the years, which is just, to represent what I'm talking about. How do you still have this belief in Nigeria? Because a lot of people in my generation who have not even seen half of what you have seen have given up.
Yeah, I think hope is... if I will use the Bible, he said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah.
Now, when you believe in a thing, you don't need to see it. You just have a vision of it. You can imagine a Nigeria that one day everybody will be fine. That's why, though I was not an architect or I didn't really root or campaign for a change of the national anthem, if you get to the last stanza of the national anthem.
We don't
O God of all creation, grant this one request. Help us to build a nation where no one is oppressed. Now that prayer was never answered. And I think we still have some business to do with that national anthem.
So that's why
maybe that was
just believe that God just made them.
Because it was like that prayer was never answered. Because what we have set up is a country where everybody is oppressed. Very, very, everyone, even the president will tell you that he's oppressed. Everyone is oppressed. So we just want to ask God, why was this verse not answered? This prayer. Even little children were the one praying the prayer at the national, at the assembly ground. Yeah. So we have to have faith that things will be good. And if you ask me, sincerely speaking, as bad as your generation have seen that, this thing is very, very bad, everything is bad. Some of us see that there has been improvement.
Wow.
Yes, some of us can see
that. Improvement. Yes. Please, could you tell us more about the improvement?
Can you hear that? There have been improvement. Now, he was head of a station. He gave me airtime. He gave PRIMORG the first airtime that we used. Since we started that program, about 5 years now, we have been running that program twice a week. politics extra, we have never had an invitation from either the government, the NBC, or anybody telling us what we said. They are angry with it. We have never had anybody writing to us to say, come and explain what happened. Even when I was in Ray Power, the NBC invited us a couple of times. It was a question of sitting down to dialogue. Do we want to set the country on fire? Please, can we tone down?
But not threats.
No.
Or not threats. No,
Not
NBC
threats.
will never threaten.
Not threats. So we have had I have had a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria call me on phone after my program to say, please, I think you are too hard in the way you have done. I mean, the president of Nigeria, who I never knew. So it was not that, okay, I was so important. He could have called the DSS. He could have called anybody, the police, to say, go and ask that boy what he's saying. But if we are seeing in a situation where we can say things, we can criticize. Social media is now here. We didn't have social media. We didn't have social media. We didn't have handsets, phones. It only came in 2002 or 2001.
Yeah.
So a lot of improvement is here. That is what actually still emphasizes that there is hope for tomorrow. That you shouldn't give up. We should not give up. What we need to do as citizens is to be involved, which we preach. Get involved. Be participant. Don't be an onlooker. The young generation, they don't want to be involved. They are too much in a hurry. They don't know that, okay, staying on the queue inside the sun, inside the rain to vote is a commitment to getting the answers. So they want to go and protest. They hold pure water. You cannot hold pure water when you want to go and protest. If the pure water or the cold water gets hot, what happens? You go back to pick another one. So you just prepare yourself and go and play your own part. There has been a lot of improvement, no matter how bad we see it. And like I said the last time, if we have a Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria today, a man I met face to face one-on-one in 1999 when he returned from 1998 when he returned from exile, and we sat down in a party plotting how to get a key member. You can also say it's a key member of the civil society because he had our dreams. He knew that was his aspiration. He used his personal funds. Don't ask me how he got the money, but the fact that for him to sustain Anthony Nahoro of blessed memory in London on exile, to sustain Wole Soyinka, to sustain everybody who were running around, and he was supporting everybody. It means that he has an idea. I don't know now if that same Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu that I knew. I don't know if circumstances have changed. If he has become a bourgeoisie, if he has become richer and more comfortable. But the man that I knew is somebody I know can sit down. You don't need to lecture him on what governance is about. He worked for it. He knows exactly what he wants. He was governor in Lagos for 8 years. He understands what democracy is about. So if he declines, refuses, or neglects to do the right thing, it is not because he doesn't know. It will just be that he does not want to do it. He knows what to do. You can't lecture Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, on democracy. There's no topic you are going to tell
because he fought for democracy.
He fought for it. He was there. He understands it. He spent his money, time,
and
energy.
he was exiled for it.
And he was exiled for it. He has traveled. He schooled abroad. I mean, he understands. He can do some comparative analysis of what's happening in Canada. How did they solve this problem in the US? How did they solve it in Sweden? How is it being run in Australia? These are things that are in his fingertips. So if we have a problem today and he is not able to solve it, it is not because he does not know how to solve it. It is because he does not want to solve it, or the system does not allow him to do it. Because the system is a factor. It's a very, very big factor. Bumi and Ugonna, if they put you into the presidency today and make you president of Nigeria, what you will see will baffle you. I was in the villa for 4 years. I covered the presidential villa. I flew the 001 aircraft. With Obasanjo for 4 years. We were running around the world looking for solutions to Nigeria's problems. We were there. He was very, very open, transparent, and eager to solve the problem. But the system frustrated him.
Wow.
So if Bola Ahmed Tinubu want to solve the problem, I have made recommendations. I have said all he needs to do is to call all the governors. We don't need 36 states, for instance. He should call all the members of the National Assembly, including the senators, 109 of them, and 360
House of Rep members.
360, call them to the room, bring the chief judge and all the judges, bring in party leaders, and lock the banquet hall, lock the door and hold the key and say,
no press men.
We are not going out of this place today until we find solution to some of the problems we have. If he can do that, we don't need a national conference. Because all of them know, if 3 people are together today, if 3 Nigerians are seated, they have the answers to our problems. If you go to beer parlor, just beer parlor and sit down and listen to ordinary Nigerians talking about how to solve Nigeria's problems, you will be amazed that they know what the problems are. What are the problems? Corruption, nepotism. Corruption is the biggest challenge, it's the top on the list. That people get rich who do not work for the money. And people are nepotistic. I am from Ogwa in Edo State. If I get appointment, everybody in my community must be employed there. I have to create space. And it is not me that's actually it is the community that comes together to tell me this is your opportunity.
You are here now, you must do something.
If you don't do, and they will make sure that you don't have a place in your home if you don't do it. Wow. They pressurize you. They make sure that your friends, your schoolmates, your old boys association,
they will all come.
Your university, everybody will say this is opportunity for us. We have never had it. So where did we lose that point where we cannot have a collective will to do the right thing just because we are scrambling for the opportunity that it surrounds the person that we know? That is where the challenge is. That's where he knows the problem. If you ask me, there's nobody in Nigeria who understands the problem of Nigeria and the solution to them more than President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I don't think anybody can lecture him on it. If he doesn't do it, frustrated by system or himself has buckled out, he has joined them. He's comfortable doing business, making money, and he's been blinded by the fact that he needs to enjoy now. He has forgotten where he's coming from. That's probably the reason why he will not act.
Okay. Well, that was a very good start.
A very good.
I told you that today we're in for an amazing ride. Yeah,
it really is amazing. Just hearing him speak.
So now let's delve deeper into PRIMORG and your activities. Yeah, you've been funded by the MacArthur Foundation, and you've been carrying out a project called Strengthening it's quite a mouthful, but they're all familiar words, so just go with me. Strengthening anti-corruption. That was why we actually started the whole corruption conversation. And accountability by amplifying corruption-related investigative reports on radio and through social media. Okay, let me just break it down. He will still talk more, but let me just break it down to Gen Z formula.
Everything's about Gen Z.
Yes, everything's about Gen Z. so the project is on fighting corruption, but the tool is radio and social media. All right? And the other tool that they use, that they amplify on radio and social media, are anti-corruption related investigative. Remember, there's a reason why those are important. Investigative reports. And so far, they've been able to carry out 123 episodes, all right, of a 60-minute program called Public Conscience. You mentioned Public Conscience earlier. So 123 episodes within 41 weeks. I hope I got that right. Yes, I got that right. Okay. So, and of course, they had the program syndicated. They did that, or they've been doing that in Abuja, Nasarawa, Kwara State, and of course, Abuja, Nasarawa, Kwara State so far. So a lot has gone down regarding that. So I would want him to speak more to the impact of this program. Possibly also talk about the number of people that this has been able to reach, and then maybe you should start from why investigative reports.
Okay, now
yes, let's start from
the
there.
last 3 years, I had the last renewal that we had. We actually started 5 years ago. We had the first project. The project started the first 2 years, amplifying investigative reports. And then when the project ended after 2 years, MacArthur Foundation graciously granted us another set of funds to run for another 3 years.
Another 3 years.
Which we are just wrapping up now.
Yeah.
Now, why investigative reports in the first place? Now, if you take a look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the journalist, the media is empowered loosely. Let me just not use the word empowered. It's expected, it's mandated to hold those in government accountable. That is, the media essentially is mandated to hold those who are in government accountable to the people. How do they do this? They do this by cross-checking facts, publishing stories they have investigated, and making those who are in government to stand on their toes. Because whatever thing you do, the media is supposed to scrutinize it, bring it out, and give it to the public back. Unfortunately, despite the mandate that was given to the media by the Constitution, there was no protection given to them. They are not protected. They are not saying if you are doing this, you are protected, or this is your place to stay. They call us the fourth estate of the realm because of this clause. Because we are part of government, but we are not paid to be part of government. We are just doing our job. We are paid by our individual employers, and we don't have a hall where every day Ego Square all the editors will meet. We don't have a meeting point. Everybody, we do our job collectively, loosely, but we have the same goal to hold the government accountable. And there's what they call investigative journalism. Investigative journalism is not the run-of-the-mill reports. The run-of-the-mill report is the president said, the wife of the president said, the governor said,
the minister
they reiterated this, they mentioned this, they were there, they commissioned water, but those are routine reports. They are run-of-the-mill reports that even my mother can report on them. There's no big deal about reporting that, the minister said the president sent him on an errand and he came back. There's no big deal about that. But where journalism is investigative reporting. Investigative reporting has so many parts of it. But what it means is that you identify, you pitch a story, you identify the nucleus of the story, you identify the parties in the story. Somebody probably gave you a hint, something has happened, or you assume that something has happened, and you go out and begin to investigate to find out what has happened. And once you do that, you are actually going to get on the edge, on the nerve of the leaders, because you are actually revealing what they don't want you to see. You are revealing what is in the secret file, what they are doing that they don't want you to see. For instance, I'll give you a very practical example. I used to have a governor friend who usually have a kind of ruler. A ruler, he keeps it in his bag. So
normal ruler,
he keeps it in his bag if he's going to inspect roads. Because the bills of quantity in the construction of a road talks about the dimension, the size to the ground, the width, how wide this road is going to be, the amount of gravel or the laterite or whatever thing that has going to be asphalt. They define them to their details. And somebody in the Ministry of Works, whether state or federal, is supposed to issue a certificate of compliance that all the details contained in those things,
and they follow through with it.
So this my friend governor, when he's going to side, he will ask them to dig down on the road. He will, because
to the bottom.
He will take them, please put a hole here to the edge, on the edge of the road. I want to see how
deep,
whether it meets the specification. First of all, what is the specification for this road? They say it's 6 inches or it's 10 inches. We put it there. If it's not there, we call the contractor. What did you do? You have not done this job.
Oh no.
Now, that was the governor that understands or understood what governance, but he was not supposed to do that. That is not his job. He has people who were supposed to have done that. But corruption has made it possible for people to issue certificate of completion, certificate of compliance, and they share the money, and they tell the governor just sign, the road has been done. So you
Without
go back to
meeting.
the road the next day, it's
gone.
It's washed away. The first rain that comes washed it, and you begin to wonder, did they spend 3 billion on this road? What happened? Because so we have corruption as one of those things that investigative journalism focuses on in Nigeria. Corruption in all shades.
Across all sectors.
It's not just in government setting, even in the private sector, because some of our brothers go to India, they go to some of these countries where we bring our medications from. I tell them put 2 milligram, but say it is 5 milligram. Baby syrup. It's very expensive, but we want to sell it at so rate, make it like this. So we started to have what we call Nigerian specification, American specification, Europe specification. So you go to one company and say, I'm going to sell it in Nigeria, so do this for me, reduce this. That is why, for instance, even the big companies, if you buy a car, a Toyota car from the US, is different in quality from the Toyota that you are going to buy in Europe.
Correct.
Because there's an American spec. American standard have said you must do this on our car. This must be in our car. And our brothers go abroad, they say that medication, reduce it and just let me have whatever thing. That's corruption. That's not government. That's not government that is doing that. But government officials are supposed to take those drugs. That's why there's NAFDAC. They're supposed to take that drug into their laboratory, look at the quantity of and the quality of the drug or the components and say this drug is not fit for consumption because it didn't meet our requirement. But corruption enables these drugs to go into the market, and we issue them. We go to the pharmacy, we buy the medications, we say it's 10 milligram, but we're actually buying 2 milligram. So you take the medicine, it doesn't cure the problem, it doesn't solve your problem. You see, malaria parasites become resistant.
I was hoping you
over
would
time.
not go to malaria. But please go on.
They become resistant over time because you are not taking the appropriate dosage for it. And it's not your fault. You thought it has the milligram, but it doesn't have the milligram. Now, the one that everybody is familiar with is the government. The corruption that is going on. It's still going on till now. It's a systemic problem that has... I don't think anybody in Nigeria, the only person that has not stolen, the only person that has not stolen is the person that has not found opportunity to steal.
Do you believe that
there are a few? I must quickly put a caveat in it, because during the time we were doing this project, we also attached to it integrity, and we added integrity to it. There were people who were standing up for integrity despite the challenges. Some of them bring tears out to our eyes when you see a taxi driver who is very, very poor. You leave $2,000 in his car, and the guy wraps it up, and for 2 weeks he's searching for the owner. He's looking for the owner.
You can see his face on the screen.
You see a cleaner at the airport. A cleaner at the airport who sees a nylon bag and say, "What is this one?" And he sees that it has $9,000 cash. Somebody left it and forgot it. He carries it. He's running after, going to security to say, "I made this money somewhere. How do we get the owner?" I mean, these are examples. That's why it is not possible for us to emphasize that those who have not stolen are those who don't have opportunity. But preponderant, the kind of the population, the kind of number that we have of people who are looking for opportunity, we will almost suggest that almost everybody in Nigeria will be corrupt if they have opportunity. But I also say that many people who shout corruption, the scramble at the door to go inside, is not the struggle to go inside and stop the corruption. It's the struggle to go inside and pick your own part of the pie. So it is so pervasive that even parents assist their children to pass WAEC. They go to school to say, I don't want my child to come back to this school next year. He must pass. How are we going to be sure? I don't want my child to repeat. He has to go to the next class. They go to the universities to to talk to lecturers. I meet parents. Not all parents, definitely, but the kind of pervasiveness of corruption is what we are looking at. But the bigger one is where governance is. And I've said this so many times. Like I always challenge the president or those who are in authority. I ask them, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not know how much oil, crude oil, we take from our soil. Let him answer to tell us how much. He doesn't know. Those who know how much crude oil we take from the soil are not Nigerians. They are not Nigerians. I'll be taken by somebody who they were looking after. I don't want to mention the name.
Yeah.
Somebody who was a militant, and he granted me interview. I was general manager in Port Harcourt of my radio station and my TV station, and I sought to see him, and they took me to the creek where he was, and I met a whole lot of people there, young men, over 300, and I was asking him, I was baffled, how are you feeding these people? And he told me, I will tell you how I feed them. And he took me to the creek between where the oil is taken from the well. The oil well, the well head is different from the float station. And many people don't know some of these terminologies.
So I think you should explain.
Yes,
break it down.
Where they get the oil, there's a rig where they dig to get the oil.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That is not where they measure the quantity of oil that comes from the soil. There's a pipe that takes it maybe 1 kilometer away to a float station. They will prepare a rig. It might be closer, it might be farther, depending on the topography. So that's actually where they take the oil to. That's where they measure how much comes out. But in between, our boys remove the pipe
and plug their own pipe
into it, take oil away, and government officials are involved. The Navy is involved. Even the current FCT minister says so when he was in Port Harcourt, that the Army, the Navy, everybody is like, if you want to get transferred to the Niger Delta, that is the best place to be transferred to.
Wow.
So we do not know how much crude oil. And he told me that all he needs to do is just call the barge in the high sea, and they come and we plug it here, and we take three days, we fill in their barge, and they give us the
3 days.
Yes. But you have seen what Tompolo discovered the last time, where there was a pipe
with
over how many kilometers? About 10 kilometers.
10 kilometers.
How did it take 3 days to dig that? That must have taken like 6 months to
put together.
To get. And nobody knew about it. Pipes that were laid to.
Can we say nobody knew about it, or people just looked the other way?
Exactly.
They knew. They're all beneficiaries of it. So, investigative journalism reveals this. To answer your question, we journalists look at those things that are happening, very, very risky. Investigative journalism is one of the most risky jobs you can do. You can get killed, and very unfortunately, Nigerian journalists, they don't have the adequate skills to do investigative journalism. They don't have the adequate equipment to do the investigative.
What are the adequate skills and equipments, if you don't mind?
Yeah, the skills is proper training that would put you to data analysis, training that will enable you identify and understand, because we cannot be, for instance, somebody who is reporting crude oil and I should know everything about crude oil. I cannot go and be reporting and do investigating about crude oil without having the knowledge
about understanding it.
Do they have such trainings? Yes, there are energy correspondents, but do they leave the offices to go
on the field to really understand?
Do you believe that sometimes some investigative journalists might be too emotionally attached to a project that they might make mistakes while they're doing
mistakes are normal. We can make mistakes. We can, if we have a proper monitoring and evaluation of what we do, the mistakes can be corrected. If you have a proper rule set up, because you don't just go out, you want to go and do an investigation. There's a guide list that you follow, and you go. That's why sometimes investigative journalism for one report can take up to 1 year. You can be investigating one report for 1 year.
So you also need patience.
You need plenty of it. And investigative journalist needs patience. And then you need money. I mean, if you go to Niger Delta and nobody answers you, have to come back. You are going back again. You are flying. You are staying in the hotel. You are giving somebody lunch.
Transportation.
You are giving them lunch in order to get something.
To get them to take out time to talk to you.
Yes, to talk to you. You are befriending people in order for them to be soft so that they can give you facts. And you have to service that friendship. You need a lot of money to do that.
A lot of money to do that.
Sometimes outrightly you buy. Some people tell you, I will not give you unless you give us money. You have to buy it. It's allowed in journalism. You pay for them to give you the
what
report.
you need.
The reports.
Yes, and your organization will say we can pay for it.
Just get it.
Get the report out.
I'm sure Bumi has a question to ask, but just before I
Please
get
go
back,
ahead.
I'm sure Bumi wants to move on to something else. It's a question I want to ask. Over 3 decades in journalism and also with PRIMORG, do you believe that Nigerians are a byproduct of Nigeria, or is Nigeria, or rather the Nigerian government, a product of Nigerians? So basically, whose fault is it that we are as we are? Is it Nigerians? Are we bad people? Is that why we have such issues in our governance?
No, it's deeply rooted. You are looking, if you'll be looking at the surface, if you are looking at who is carrying it and who is not carrying it, is deep. It started before independence. The term Nigeria is when you say Nigeria is abstract.
Okay.
It's not real. Nigeria is not real. Nigeria is an abstract.
Please,
Some guys came to Nigeria to do business with the Royal Niger Company.
Yeah.
They came to do business with Royal Niger Company. I was in Berlin once to see where they sat down to split Africa.
The Berlin Convention.
Yes, they split it. They say you take here, British take this, German take this side,
French
take this, and the Belgians take this, and they shared Africa. And we happen to be a part of the portion that they gave to the British people. We were their property. We were part and parcel. They saw us as their property. It was not like they were having we belonged to them, and they were running the affair of Nigeria economically. They brought train from the north to the south in order for them to take products to the sea so that it can go. It was not as if they loved you. That was why they put the rail line. Now they looked at one administration might be better. Instead of the northern protectorate and the southern protectorate, why don't you just have one person who will run the two? That was how Nigeria came to be.
They had nothing to do
We
with
have
us.
never sat down. We never till tomorrow. We have not sat down to say we want to be Nigeria. Nobody has sat down.
We just met
No one
ourselves
asked for
that
our
way.
permission.
No, we have never had any opportunity to sit down as people to say we want to be Nigeria. If we had the opportunity, we'll ask questions. How do we want to stay together? We would have defined it. What form of government would be better for us? How are we going to go? That's why there's a lot of confusion in Nigeria. We are managing our cultural interpretation of what we have. We were in the Songhai Empire, the old Benin Empire, in the old Ghana Empire, all of the empires that came, different things. They just
collapsed everything.
They collapsed together from with our brothers who were coming from Futajalon, and they came in, wrecked their jihad, overrun some communities, murdered their kings, appointed their own surrogates, and we are not a nation. We are a country. We are not a nation. There's nothing that like being Nigerian nation. It doesn't exist. We are actually supposed to evolve a nation. Come together, sit together, and say, do we want to live together? These are things that we should do for us to live together. The First Republic, you remember when we came on, it was like we had regions that were autonomous. They had the northern region, the western region. They were on their own. Autonomous. They were in charge of their economy. Yeah. They took charge of cocoa. The eastern region took charge. In fact, when Midwest came as a fourth region, they were in charge. They were rubber, pyramids and all those things. But now, from the Agri-University period, we have a unitary system that has further polarized and destroyed whatever thing we knew that we don't have a country that we can call a nation. We just have something that we have been managing. We have not had people who are bold enough to sit down and say, look, enough is enough. We are traveling a wrong road, because we have been traveling this wrong road since independence. And we are on the wrong road, not just traveling normally, we are going with speed. Yeah. And we don't take care of anything. We are just going, and we don't have any destination. That is the funny part of it. We don't have a place we are going. We don't have any destination to say in 200 years' time, in 20 years' time, in 40 years' time, this is where we want this country to be. Nobody has a vision. So this president comes in, does his own, manages the confusion for a period, gets out. Another person comes in, continues, manages his own confusion, introduces some of the confusion and leaves. Another person comes in. We have never had any opportunity to sit down. Even the national conferences we have had have not been bold enough to ask the pertinent questions. So we don't have a nation. We have nationalities. The Yoruba nation, the Igbo nation, the Esan nation, the Urobo nation. That is what we have. And our original allegiance are to those nationalities, not to Nigeria.
Wow.
That's why there's corruption. That's why there's nepotism.
So if we were to, I mean, if you said
you can see the problem. You can see the problem of the civil society people. Now, if you are in my shoes and you are looking for solution to problems, and you understand this challenge that has been on ground, then you now want to design concept notes. You want to write a proposal to fight corruption. You know, corruption is just the one you are doing is just on the surface. Sometimes I ask the MacArthur Foundation, where do you find the courage to have funds to begin to over 100 organizations they are giving money to, more than any other foundation? They have spent more. How do you find it? They say, look, if we do not give you the money to do this, you can imagine what will happen if you are not doing this. So that is the hope that we have, that, okay, one day, somehow, by error of commission or omission, a president will come. Like Bola Ahmed Tinubu can come up one day and say, enough of this nonsense. How many days are we spending here? We have had this challenge for a very long time. Okay, let everybody come. How do we go? Do we want to have a confederation? Do you want to have a regional government? If we want to maintain this democracy that we are doing now, how do we do it in such a way that we can take care of the ordinary Nigerian? Because that is the problem of the NGO workers. We are looking at the ordinary Nigerian. Some of us are comfortable. I must tell you, some of us are comfortable. We have traveled. We have run around. We can go and keep quiet and just let things be going, and we'll just be eating.
Some people like Nigeria as it is.
Yes, so but how do you
really, they are benefiting from
what corruption. About those who do not have a voice? They don't even have a voice. There are people, as we are talking now this evening, they don't have anything they want to eat. So who takes care of their interests? And we are talking of 419, we are talking of Yahoo boys, we are talking of our young girls embracing prostitution in a very, very wonderful style. Now they don't even stand on the road, they have apps. Now you can go to their website now, tap app, and you look at the yellow. Is it slim one? Is it one with the big breast? And you say this is the one.
Oh dear!
And you tick it, and the person will just like.
The person will just show up.
It will just show up.
Order the meal.
Yes, and our mothers, if you wake them of those that are late now, our mothers, if you wake them from their grave and tell them that prostitution can have this kind of coordination. Coordination, they will tell you it's not possible. Wow. This is what we have found ourselves in. Who is going to bail the cat? Who is going to come up to say we must find solution to this problem? We don't have that person yet. So that is where our concepts, our proposals, the challenge the CSOs have. You see them running, some of them really crying. They say, we have been working in this area, we don't get results. You know, you find it really, sometimes it's really disheartening. In the last 3 years, we have gotten nearly $1 million from the MacArthur Foundation. In the last 4 years, nearly $1 million from the MacArthur Foundation. Some of the funds were given to give to some smaller organizations that are working in the anti-corruption area. So today we ask ourselves, what have we achieved in the last 5 years? We can't point to anything tangible that will say there's this dramatic change that we have seen, apart from a few. Just they changed small policy. Passport now you don't need to. You can now do it online. You don't need to pay anybody. All those small takeaways, but that's not the kind of solution we want.
Okay, so now, still on the program. I mean, because of course the program was an extension. I was just talking about the last 3 years because, like I said, PRIMORG has been around for 6 years. From 2018. So this is the second round of the program. But I guess. And if I'm wrong, correct me. Because I think you even alluded to that the MacArthur Foundation said, hey, we're giving this money because we know that if we don't give this money and all of you stop working,
then they will have more bigger problems.
So, and you also said at the start that despite all you've seen, borrowing her language, you still believe that Nigeria can work, and that's why you wake up every day and go to work to do this. So now let's talk about, we've talked about the gloomy side. Those progresses that you said, they are small, but let's still talk about them. Now, you did 123 live radio programs
in the
last 3 years, syndicated to 369 other episodes, syndicated.
And repeated severally too.
And then repeated also 492 repeat broadcasts by 5 radio stations, in Abuja, in Nasarawa, in Kwara, and in Plateau states. You also did 16 radio town hall meetings within the 3 years. And you mentioned you talked about people who want to apply for Nigerian passports. Prior to now, you'd have to pay some. You have to know somebody. If you don't know anybody, you are wasting your time. We've seen.
But thank God that has changed.
That has changed.
You don't really need to know anybody.
Then there was a time where there was a scam on the birth certificate.
The birth certificate, yes. It's still there. The birth certificate is like almost a lost battle for us. We literally lost the battle. There are so many factors that are responsible.
So maybe you should give a brief background. Yes, I know you're very passionate about it, but give a brief background so that they really get the idea.
Yeah, the idea of working in the area
and what you were doing there.
Yeah, the work in the area of birth certificate was that till today, as we speak, the birth certificate is free. The UNICEF has paid for the card, even everything that you need. They have paid for it. They give the federal government money for birth certificate. So if you give,
sorry, I did not know that.
You need to get the look on Nugona's face, like.
So if you have
I did not know that.
If you have a child,
it's free.
It's free if you have a child, and the child is 18 years and under, 18 years and below.
Yeah.
You just walk to the National Population Commission. You give them evidence of the birth of the child. They issue you with birth certificate. It's free.
You don't have to tip. You don't have to pay
all those 2,000, 5,000.
Yeah, you don't have to do any of that.
But I'll tell you why it happened. We went to Imo State.
Okay.
We went to Imo State to take the campaign because one of the investigative reports that we amplified was anchored on Imo State.
Okay.
Even though Imo was not in our catchment area.
Yeah.
Because our project was captured around North Central.
Yeah.
But because the story was anchored in Imo State, we went to Imo State for a town hall. We organized a town hall.
State.
We organized a town hall in Owerri, brought everybody together, including the director in charge of the National Population Commission, a gentleman. I mean, he cooperated with us so much so that this guy wants to do the right thing. But when the registrars were telling us their story, the registrars, those who bet registrars, those guys you meet who gives you the certificate.
Yes.
Now, let us use Abuja for example.
Okay.
Your house is in Kubwa. You live in Kubwa.
Okay.
And your office is in zone 4.
Okay. So for those who don't live in Abuja, that's like 100 kilometers?
Yeah, but maybe about 30 kilometers.
100 k.
Sorry, 30 kilometers.
About 30 kilometers.
And then you are posted every day to Kuje registration center. Kuje is another local government away where you have to take transportation to the place. Now, if you are posted, you first of all leave your house, maybe come to the office, pick up equipment, and then you go to Kuje to man in a hospital where children are born, and you are not provided transport. They ask us, they say, Oga, if you were sent to that place and you are not given transportation, how do you get back tomorrow? That what they actually do is to be able to do the job.
To do the job.
And that the money budgeted for registrars to go to their offices and locations in the field are held back by senior officers in Abuja. They chop the money.
Okay.
So,
are you surprised?
No, I'm not.
So that is why today, if you go to the various registrar centers, the birth registration centers, they ridiculously collect as low as 200, 300 naira from people because they say that is the only way they can come back to work tomorrow. So the problem is that at the level of the governance, where budgets are made every year, where they budget for this, some guys take this money and put it in their pocket. We have not been able to fight this, even despite the 5 years of our campaign. And ignorance is also a matter. Many people are not aware that this birth certificate is free. So they just say, how much? 500 naira, 300 naira. And the excitement of having a baby. When you just have a baby.
Take.
Sometimes just for the convenience.
Yeah, just for the convenience. Just give it. But you see, we have put some figure to it that every year, corruption that comes as a result of birth certificate, 300 naira, 400 naira, 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira, will not be, it will be in their billions every year that people put in their pockets.
In their pockets.
So we raised these issues, worked with the NP, the Nigeria Population Commission. They cooperated with us halfway. We had a director that was very wonderful in Abuja. One, Mr. Taiwo, he cooperated with us and said, Mr. Agbonsuremi, you guys are doing very well, but I think we have our problems inside our offices. Wow. He's retired now, that's why I can mention his name. Yeah. So he said, I think we have our problems in our offices. And that is it. Apart from the birth certificate, where we seem to have been raising some awareness. I'm not saying that some awareness were not raised. Some people get to know. They write to us to say, we were asked to pay, I refused. And it excites us when we are running our radio program and they call to say, thank you very much. I was at my heart, just had a baby, and I got to that place. The woman said, or the man said, I should pay some money. And we told them, no, we heard it on Kiss FM. We heard it on Hot FM, because we syndicate to all these radio stations. We heard it on Ray Power that we should not pay. And I will now say, what happened? They said we insisted, and they gave us the certificate free of charge. So it means that if you are aware, from the citizens' point of view, you can resist it, and those who are chopping the money will stop chopping the money.
So that means for the effort that you, when I say you, I mean PRIMORG now, and I know on this program, on this project, you worked with more than 20-something partners.
So many partners.
Because people had written these reports, and then PRIMORG picked the reports up and then blew it up on radio and social media. So what you are trying to say now, invariably, is that if there is more awareness, and that space is being invaded. When I mean that space, I mean the awareness space. Because this is just one of several. I mean, there's the one where where PRIMORG touchlighted a project for a road somewhere in Biazin. Biazin is in Abuja.
We have done that.
Don't worry, I know she's one of the bourgeoisie. She doesn't know. She doesn't know where Biazin is. I wish they got her facial expression.
Yeah, we did that in Biazin. We did that in Peggy community. Yeah, where roads were abandoned.
For the Biazin, it's in Abuja. Don't worry, it's not in another country. Please get the expression on her face. These are the bourgeois. These are the bourgeoisie.
Honestly, Biazin sounds like
sounds like where it's in Abuja. Really? Yeah. So for the Biazin one, I will never forget the Biazin on Biazin. Byhazin. I know you're thinking of Byzantine.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
But no, Biazin, Abuja.
Hello, now I know.
Bourgeoisie. Hello. now I keep talking. Even I keep talking about the Biazin one because. So I went to see someone in Biazin some time ago. I had no idea PRIMORG. I knew of PRIMORG. But I had no idea PRIMORG.
That we were advocating.
We're advocating for that road. Now, I went during the rainy season. My car got stuck.
This one is...
No, not this year. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. Thereabouts. Yeah, because when I saw their report, I was like, no. I can attest to this one. I saw this one. Yeah. My car was stuck. So I now had to park the car, and get on the bike. And the road also, when red sand and rain meet each other, it's not a good combination at all. So by the time I was done,
we were well colored.
I was well colored. Let's just put it that way. White. Then I went back with a friend this time. We went back because we know someone that lives there. So we went back months later and we said that, the road is done. What happened here? We had no idea. So when I saw it in PRIMORG's report, I had to point that one out among several others.
Amazing.
Because what we did in that place and the Peggy community was that we went there. In Peggy we actually went to hold a town hall meeting for AEDC. Incidentally, it was not because of the road we went there. We went there because of those who were using prepaid meter and they were paying without having light. So we wrote to the ADC to say, let us go to that community. Let us begin to do. We called everybody and they said, look, what is wrong? Why are you giving people bills that they didn't? It was to solve the problem of the
prepaid meter issue.
Yes, those who didn't also have meter, those who were just on estimated billings. Yeah. That we went to. That was why we took the town hall to that place, only to find a road. And we asked. We saw the signboard on the road, and we look at the years. And we saw that people were just suffering. So the community teamed up with us when we met with the FCT minister and told him these are the things we want to do. Went on social media, went on radio, talk about the area. I would call the contractor back 10 years after to come and do the road. Now we can only but do such advocacy to people who have ears, who want to listen to us. There were certain advocacies we did, people didn't listen to us. So we must also commend those government officials. Yes, the FCT in particular, the FCT ministry in particular, the ministers who listen to us when we tell them this is what we want to do. Yeah. Somebody like Wike, in fact, you don't even need to meet with him. Once you sound it out and run it out, he will call his officials and say, I heard this, what is going on? So it's very, very sensitive to such things. And if we have people in government who are sensitive to such, the job our job will be a lot easier for us to do. Wow. So we have advocacies around issues that even if it is not directly corruption, but we know that negligence, in fact, we can still come back to corruption, because when they award the contract, what happens in Nigeria is that they award the contract, they give you a mobilization. Is it 30% or so?
Well, it depends on the ministry. Some mobilize.
So that 30%, we saw that in Peggy. Yeah. They tell you to give half of it to some persons.
To the brethren.
Yeah. So you donate that. Then you now use the small one you have to begin the job. It will not take you anywhere. Of course. So you abandon the job. Yeah. By the time you abandon the job for like 3 years, the prices of things have gone. You now write for variation. To say, look, we said this project was going to be 5 million. 5 million cannot do it again. That will take another 2 years for them to do a variation, do fresh bills of quantity. Yeah. By the time they come back with the bills of quantity, it might even come, there's inflation on the figures already. But the contractors will still need to part with some of them for those who help him to push the files, and a lot of that is the challenge we have.
You know what? There's another form of, because I know your organization is hell-bent on changing the framework of Nigeria, tackling corruption and the likes. But I think there's another type of corruption that we don't really talk about, and which I think a lot of people call politicking. And I think every time there's an election, between 3 months and maybe even 16 to 18 months after the election, people are still in court. Either they're in court fighting over who really won the election, or they are finding out that, this person did, this person's ballot box, this person, just look at what is going on in different, I don't want to mention the state, but I'm pretty sure you know the state I'm talking about right now. I feel that politicking takes away so much from governance, because when a person has been put in office, the time they should take studying the land, studying the people, thinking of what they can do to make the lives of the people better, they're too busy in court trying to save their seats.
Well, what you have now is a great improvement of what we had before. Now there's a timeline that if somebody is sworn in and between so time and so time,
the case
was
90 days?
There was a time it was.
Even after that,
there was a time it was eternity. There was no.
They just drag and drag, and that's why you see that some states don't have the same timeline of election with
you can see
a couple
that
of others.
Anambra, Imo.
It's about 8 or so states that don't, because of the fact that the politicking that you talked about has actually taken the meat out of the governance that we are supposed to have. So when you have a system, a country where citizens are not maybe mobilized enough. The incidents we talked about on abandonment of road just now, the corruption in the road, the corruption in the birth certificate, the corruption, all of them, they are pervasive and they are possible because we are not taking responsibility. Because you ask a question, I don't know if she was the one, you asked the question about the role of the people, what are we supposed to do? Because at the end of the day, we are not participating in this governance that we have. That's what we are trying to emphasize. We are not participating. The young people are not interested.
Some people might argue that the young people are not given a chance.
The last time, no, they don't. Nobody gives
a chance.
No, that's what they say. That's what they say. But nobody gives you a chance.
Grab it.
Nobody gives you a chance.
Snatch it.
If the people themselves are not willing to participate and they have a limitation of their participation. The limit of their participation.
And sorry,
there's a problem.
just to add to this, so you can speak more on this. Some people also say that the only young people who are given the chance to participate in politics are the children of politicians. I'm just to add.
But that's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true. It's not only in politics. It's not only in politics. If you go to the media,
True.
if you go to the media, many of the very, very good journalists also raise their children to become journalists.
Yeah.
If you go to the legal profession,
Good lawyers
Yeah.
also raise their children.
Lawyers and doctors like that.
Rotimi Williams of blessed memory has 4 of the children who are senior advocates.
Aha.
I mean, the Kehinde Shofola had his children senior advocates. We have, I can mention names of
Several
people who groomed their children up. So it's not just politics. In the United States of America, we had a Bush who was president, and his son became president. Another son is governor.
Yeah.
There's nothing really wrong with that if you bring up your children.
But you
But,
get
the
it
point
on
is that
merit.
but if you have an example of a young person like Bello in Kogi State,
Oh, no.
who we all said, oh, this is a young man,
He will
and
do
he
things
becomes the bad example for everybody, that is a drawback.
Yeah.
That's a drawback. He's not the only one, I must say. But we also have young people. Somebody like Donald Duke was a very young guy.
Yes.
He came into governance. He did his very turned a Cross River around, tourism-wise. He made all the impact, and then handed over to another young person, Liam Moke, who sank the entire thing down. I used to drive 9 hours from here to the Obudu Mountain Resort.
Yeah.
But I can't drive now from here to Obudu Mountain Resort. Probably I will not come back.
Even the Tinapa right back
So
home.
he had Tinapa, he had a lot of things, but they are all grounded. So it is not as if there's anything wrong in young people having be given opportunity. But even those of us who are young now, those of you who are young now, if they say let us go and vote, if they say let us attend town hall meetings, let us call our representatives to order, how many people are interested in attending?
Some people believe that our votes don't count.
So
Yes, why is it that our vote don't count? Our vote don't count because we do not stand to insist that our vote should count. Other countries will insist that their vote, look, if they release the wrong result, they will say no. But Nigerians will just say, what is it?
it has happened. Next one. Oh, okay. So now, as we gradually begin to round off, still on this issue of people not getting involved because they feel the system is not working or it's not good. But I'm really excited and encouraged about the fact that twice, at least I counted twice, you've said that what we have right now in Nigeria is a lot better
Yes.
compared to what it
Yes.
used to be.
Yes.
Now, so this is where I'm going to. PRIMORG does vox pops on the street. In fact, sometimes when I just want to have a good time, I just go on YouTube. You can see their YouTube page. Yeah, you can see some of the clips, right? So go there, check some more out. They ask
PRIMORG
very
TV. PRIMORG TV
PRIMORG
we
TV
have,
on YouTube. Yeah. So sometimes when I just want to pass time, maybe I'm going in for a meeting or something, I just want to see. Dev now is not doing that. They're doing that. So how do I encourage them? I go on the video, watch it, leave a comment there and all of that so that someone else can see it. And they ask questions about governance, about corruption, and what have you. So as we're gradually beginning to round off, we've talked about people not wanting to get involved. And I have a feeling that's one of the reasons why you do those vox pops, to really gauge, I don't like to use the expression average Nigerian but for lack of a better one, what the average Nigerian is thinking about
an
different
issue,
things.
yeah.
So what have you found out so far?
Now, we apart from the vox pop,
Yes.
like today, I joined with the NDLEA, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, with the United Nations UNODC,
United Nations Organization for
Drug and Narcotics,
Control,
along with MTN sponsoring. We were in Abuja taking a walk today against drug abuse because PRIMORG has a project, which we call SWED, Safe Without Drugs.
Safe
without drugs. So we have a project which we do with schools. We go to schools because we discover that drug is rampant in schools among young people. So we go around the schools. We work with the FCT schools, Secondary School Management Board. They are cooperating with us so well, and the NDLA will give us experts to follow us on our advocacy.
Yeah.
We provide all the small things we give to the children, the snacks and all those things
And
to
all
make
of
them
those. Yeah.
starting to hear their stories
Yeah.
and other things.
Yeah.
On the political stuff, on the corruption stuff, we have what we call the voice pop. We talk about voices against corruption. That's what we call voices against corruption. And we go to the street to ask people on questions that are specific to incidents and issues that we want them to have. Why do you believe that this is happening, this is happening, this is happening? And they will tell you their
Take
idea.
on it.
Like you said, it was just to also get as many people as possible to understand. Apart from the over 10 million people we were able to reach in the last 10 years on radio, we have also been able to reach a large, in fact, we can't even count how many people,
Sure.
because we don't have the accurate figure, how many
accurate
people
figure.
watch our videos, our clips, and all here and there. But
Yeah.
the people we meet on the street, on each episode, we put in like 10 voices.
Yeah.
10 voices
seen a
on each.
couple.
We go to the street, we go around, anywhere we go to, we just ask them questions about corruption. Some of them tell us they don't know anything about it. Like this birth certificate, she's not the only one that didn't know. So many people say,
Some people.
I paid, I didn't know that it is free. But why did they not tell us that it is free? We now say, please, do you have an uncle, a brother, a sister, a son, or do you still want to have more children? Please don't pay next time. So we have successes in these small areas, getting the people to know. Like I said, it is not all hopeless. She asked what is giving us, what is firing us on, what is making us. It is the fact that we believe that Nigeria can be good. We have good Nigerians. They may be very few, but we have very, very good Nigerians. We have Nigerians who are passionate about this country. I have seen them, I know them, and I have worked with them. Some of them we don't know at all. They are quietly in their very small area conducting their lives with integrity. We have lecturers who will not give somebody a mark that is not deserved, that the person did not, who will not collect money, who will not collect gift. We have lecturers. Professor Madali Ugbolo was an integrity icon found by Accountability Lab in 2017. She has worked passionately with us. You saw her that day.
Yes,
She was our
at your
keynote.
event.
We have Francis Erabo. Francis Erabo is an assistant commissioner of police now. Since he joined the police, he told the whole world that he will never collect bribe. He has never collected bribe, and we can attest to it. He's an assistant commissioner of police.
That is huge.
So if you have a policeman who says, I will not take bribe.
That is huge and unheard of.
Yes, and he's not the only one. We had one that was recently promoted in Kano, who will not collect bribe. They gave him $100,000 and naira, 100,000 naira, and he rejected it. And he said he's not going to take it, and he reported that he was being offered money. A policeman in Nigeria. So if you find a taxi driver, a policeman, will you find a cleaner,
a hotel attendant,
you find accountants, you find journalists who will passionately do their job, even if just one in 1,000. Like the Bible says, if I can just find one person in this community, I will not destroy it. That is enough to encourage us to continue. That's what is firing us up to say we must continue to do this job. We must propagate the idea. We must encourage people. We must continue to tell the people that this thing is doable. We can do it. And for goodness sake, I'm a grandfather now. And what do I want to tell my own children or my children's children that we just came here and we just passed through, we just enjoyed ourselves, we drink cognac and we just dance party and not things are rotten? How do we explain it?
You know, some people always say that, or rather, that they compare the education. Let's use the education for example. They compare the education system of the 60s, 70s, and 80s to what we have now in the 2020s and all, and it pales in comparison. And they say that, you know, I have an aunt who tells me that she went to a federal school. And back then, federal schools were up to par. Students were taken care of. They were well-fed, well-educated. And when you compare that to the public schools, because right now it seems that to give your child a sound education where they are safe, educated properly, you have to take them to the private sector. So some people say that, is Nigeria really getting better? Because when you look at things
there's a flaw.
In things like communication, perhaps we have a bigger voice. We're no longer living in dictatorship. But when it comes to education, for example, people say that it has completely withered.
No, the standard has actually fallen. And I don't want to bore you with the whole story. You guys and you boys will say, leave those stories, you are too old.
No, you're
in
not
the
so old.
60s, we're very small in the 60s, young in the 60s. I was born in 1962, but in 68, we could run around. And if you are in the secondary school in my village then, and you are in the modern school, not even secondary school, modern school, you will be the letter writer for everybody, because there was no phone.
Yeah, no
so
emails.
your son that is in Lagos, the only way you communicate with the person is to write letter. So you go, and if you were lucky to be in secondary school at that time, you will be the one to do letter writing. Greet her for me. Tell her say I greet you. When I say dear my son, tell her say we are very well here. The only thing we say, Baba not well, you will write it down and say this. You write it down.
Dearest gentle reader.
You will, after you have written it, you will read it to the person in the language that he has told you. This is what you have said. Say no, not be that one, not be that, not be so I talk. Put it that way. If you were able to be in secondary school, the only person in the village in secondary school, you are going to be the letter writer.
For everybody in the community.
Tell me a child in secondary school today who can write a letter. Who you will speak your language to, and will write it in English in a letter that is going to your son in London.
And it will make sense.
And if your father writes you a letter, you will also carry the letter, because you cannot read. You go and look for the boy to say, I read the letter, waiting talk. He will not say, dear that they are where they meant to well initial. I say I should greet you. I have read your letter, or this is what it says, or you say it in the same. How many people in SS3 can sit down, listen in Yoruba, and write it in English to somebody in a letter? So the standard has actually gone down a little. But you see, we should also stay where the standard was then, because a lot of AI has come in now. You have come in now, you don't even need to do so much. You just press your button and ask Google. Google would tell you all the definitions and everything. So life has been made a lot easier. It ought to have been more intelligent actually than what it was before, because it was cut and nailed then. Now it's soft, and people just take it out. And I think also that we are also failing in our parental guidance. If I was flogged as a small child by an elder outside, I'll close my mouth. I dare not go home and say,
because when you get home,
if I get, they will give me more.
You get more.
Because before the elder flogged you, you have done something. So you just keep quiet. You just swallow it and clean your eyes. If they tell you what's wrong, tell them nothing is wrong with me, nothing, I'm okay. But you are crying, you say nothing. Because if they will ask you what happened to you, you will say,
you dare not say.
But now, people go to schools to go and beat up teachers because they even shouted at their words, not even flogged.
So you think that we have diluted discipline?
Yes, we have diluted discipline. We have imported so much of the discipline. We'll leave the person.
I'm speaking my truth.
Let the person grow and become what he wants to be. And if the person says, thank God for the laws in Nigeria and our culture, we are happy that we are still having that.
We're still a bit sane.
Yes, in other countries, they will tell the child in school, you know, what did your parents tell you that you are? They will say, I'm a boy. So you know you can decide to be a girl. Yeah. you know you can be a girl.
Unspecified.
If you want to be a girl, you know you are a girl, and they will support the person to become a girl.
That's right.
That's why you have seen people here crying that their children they sent abroad, they have turned to something else, and they say they now have pride, and they are now this and that. But generally speaking, I think there have been a lot of improvements. PRIMORG has worked 6 years consistently to improve awareness in voter education. Yeah. That's an area where we couldn't talk about. We've talked every time there's an election elsewhere. We do advocacy. We try to encourage people to go out there and vote, because the gap between those who vote and those who are on the voter register is embarrassing. The last time we had over 90 million, but we only had about 27, 28 million people who came to vote. Where are the other people?
That's about just 30%.
Yeah, where are the other people? Which means that something is fundamentally wrong. Either the figure is wrong or the people are wrong. Either the figure is wrong or people just decided that they are not going to vote. There might even be a combination of the same answers. The figure is partially wrong and people are not also interested. The apathy is very, very wide. People are not interested in, they just giving up. Like she said, they seem to have
just resorted to
there's
fate.
Nothing we can do. But you see, there's a lot that we can do. And if we continue to say there's nothing we can do, then those who are in government will just be drinking champagne. They will just be very happy.
To be balling.
Remember that I have also told you that I have been involved at the level of covering those in government close enough. When there's protest, you know what they do? They will say, just give them time. They will soon be tired. They will soon be tired, and they will just wait the first day. They will soon be the next day. When they see them going with water, they know they are going to get tired. Because if you want to protest, if you saw what happened in Nigeria, they didn't go with water. They were on the street for the number of days. Some people were cooking for them and bringing food for them. They didn't go. But here, we will do it and close and ring the bell and go. We'll go back. And when we are coming, we'll come with water. And then when that water finishes, we go home. They will say, the next day, that first day, they will close by around 2 o'clock. The second day, they will close by 11. The third day, only a few people will come. They will close by around 9. The other day, you will not see anybody. They will just say, we told you, they are not going to sustain it. So it is the sustenance of the pressure that makes those in government to change the policies. Wow. It is what makes them to work. It is the sustenance of the pressure on those who are representing us, those who are governing us, that causes the change of policy and makes them to govern well. But if we do not mount those pressures on them, we just feel we have given up and there's nothing that can happen. They are excited. Wow. They are happy to continue with the old policies, and the suffering will continue.
So that means it's safe to say citizens should get more involved.
It's
also safe to say we're appealing to more partners to empower more organizations.
True.
So that the message of let's not give up is louder than this is how it's always going to be.
Yeah, you are correct. Because I've been very, very privileged. Because PRIMORG Foundation is, as we have PRIMORG here, we have PRIMORG Foundation in Canada.
Okay.
We set up PRIMORG Foundation in Canada. What we do in Canada is racism. We fight racism, we fight hate, and we promote multiculturalism. Canada is the only country in the world that doesn't have more than 5, 6, 7% of the population as original citizens, the indigenous. Yeah. The aborigines, they are so minor that everybody from the prime minister down, they are all immigrants. So it's an immigrant country. So there's this challenge of multiculturalism. People coming together from different cultures, bringing their own, the Chinese, the Indians, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, everybody coming to do their own. People, even Africans from Jamaica, come with their own variation of. So we promote multiculturalism. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that we do not have enough civil society groups in Nigeria.
Yeah.
We don't have enough, and we don't have enough support. Unfortunately, there are no foundations that support ideas. I don't know how many companies in Nigeria budget for civil society to say this is what we are going to give to promote, apart from the Tony Elumelu Foundation that is promoting entrepreneurship. Very good, we commend him, and I have seen that impact so many people. All the other foundations, the Awolowo Foundation, the T.Y. Danjuma Foundation, the Yakubu Gowon Foundation, all those foundations, they also go to look for funding to do what they want to do. Maybe they didn't have enough seed, because Makato Foundation have a lot of seed. So they have about $7 billion, which they trade with in business investment every year. And every year they have more than $500-600 million to distribute. They must distribute that money to promote Vedant society around the world. It's not only in Nigeria they are operating.
Yeah.
So do we have such people in Nigeria? Even if they stole the money, let them put money out to say, we want to use this money to promote democracy, to support civil society organizations. There are small organizations in Nigeria, in Abuja here, I know them, that visit schools with sanitary pads for children, the girl child that cannot go to school during the time they are having their period. Because they have to stay at home because they don't have anything to cover themselves. They use the cloth that their mother gives to go to our villages here in Abuja. Go to the FCT villages. Children don't go to school when they are in their period because they don't have. So
they miss about a week.
A week.
Or more.
Every month, a week are out of school. Yeah. So there are NGOs that buy pads now. They go to schools to distribute.
Some of them even miss exams and tests
to distribute them. There are NGOs that their only job is to provide water for schools, so that children can have water to drink in their school. They put boreholes in schools. They go to primary schools. They are happening in FCT here. They go there, just put borehole. And to sustain it, they have to put it in such a way that they put solar panel in it,
there.
so that they can have. We have need for each, even traffic light regulation. We need people, because you drive. You drive in Abuja now. It's a nightmare. People, you look as if you are stupid if you wait for the traffic light.
Exactly.
This one will pass. This one will pass, and you will be asking yourself, is it not red? And
at night, no, traffic lights are just suggestions. At night,
in defense for at night, we know about the issue of insecurity. If the place is lonely and the road is, is lonely,
pass.
I wouldn't lie to you, I pass. But during the day, I do not run lights.
Even today, so people
because at night, let me tell you, sometimes when you hear information, it stays with you for a long time.
Yeah.
So true stuff. I have a friend. At the time, I used to warn her, don't put your handbag
behind
on the front seat or in the car. Can you put it in the trunk? And all of that. That was her turning point. So at the time, she would always put her bag on the front
seat.
Yeah.
And
that is
at the time,
that's suggestive.
At the time also, the car she was using, the air conditioning system wasn't good.
So you have to lower the...
So she was in Wuse 2.
In the afternoon.
If you live in Abuja, you know about Abuja, Google Wuse 2. Wuse 2 is one of the prime areas.
And someone just...
Now, she was coming from an engagement.
In the night?
Yeah, at night. At about 7:38, thereabout. I would never forget that. And in Wuse 2, I don't want to mention which of the junctions, right? She said she was listening to music. You know, when you're just waiting for the light to turn to green so that you can move. That what she saw, the person was already beside her because he had already unlocked the car. She didn't notice. She just saw the person. The moment she saw him, the first response was to just hit the accelerator. So because he had not yet come in, he was trying to make his way into the car. Real life stuff, not Nollywood movie. And so she just, hit the accelerator and she was able to make a way. Now, so when you hear those kind of things in Wuse 2,
in the heart of the city.
At night, when I get to the traffic light, and I'm saying this, I will keep doing it till insecurity reduces. At night, when I get to lonely junctions, I look left, I look right, I make sure the road is clear. The lonelier, the quicker I will move. But during the day, there was a day a police officer pulled me by and said, "Did you run the lights?" I said, "I'm not scared of you. I'm scared for my life. I don't run the lights because even when it's green, you still have to look carefully to make sure that one other mad driver is not about to run into red."
Fellow who
and just like
care.
he said, you see it at an intersection.
Yeah, intersections.
Someone will just come
in the daytime
and go. Daytime.
I've even heard of the one they do at night where you're driving, maybe you're in a bit, maybe you get to a traffic light and then someone just comes and hits you behind. And then you're mad. You come out like, who are you? Who's your father? And then they're
I heard that.
Well, so what we are trying to say is that even advocacy in these areas to grow knowledge on the safety, why you should stop for the traffic, there are organizations that does this. That is their job. They are just registered to advocate for better traffic management. We don't have that yet in Nigeria. We don't have that yet in Nigeria. Well, maybe our problem is too much, so we have not gotten to that.
I guess so.
And we have not gotten
I remember when I used to be on radio, I used to,
We're still
preach about that, talk about that.
We have not gotten to that level.
Right
so
now,
for persons who say, "Oh, we have too many civil society.
We don't have enough.
We don't have enough." And we don't
and
even
the ones
have
they don't even have enough funding.
And we don't have enough support for those that are in existence.
They don't.
We don't have enough support. MacArthur Foundation has supported us. We have also gotten support from some other organizations. Some people give you money and say they don't want you
recognition.
No publicity. Just take this.
We love what you are doing, or take this for to support what you are doing. And a lot of private people should do that. The civil society organizations need support. We need to run out. Remember that we also pay salaries. We pay rent for our offices. We run petrol. We pay for light. We pay for transportation. So these things, no one can do it all alone. Yes, maybe at the beginning of PRIMORG, I had seed money. I put down and say, okay, this money, before I think I remember then when I was starting, I just put 25 million naira down. I said, this 25 million naira, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to use it for the next 1 year.
That was your personal sacrifice.
My personal money, and I invited friends who said, don't pay me salary. We can just collect transportation and we are able to run out. Before we started to see support from. If we begin to see people or organizations who are making profit, the banks are declaring profit every time. And sometimes they set up foundation, you don't know what they do.
Well, I
Ahead of MTN Foundation today, that MTN has a foundation.
MTN has a foundation?
Yeah,
Yes,
and
they do.
TJ, we're actually the one that organized this work that we
MTN
did
has a
today,
foundation, Airtel has a foundation,
which is very, very,
etc.
very commendable. But they should also put more money into their foundation to
Yeah.
be able to support the other.
And also visibility
yes.
of their
Yeah, and
foundation.
more
Yes.
visibility as
Yes.
well. Yeah. So in closing, I mean, we've said so much about PRIMORG, about fighting corruption in
I feel
Nigeria,
like we can even
and
have this
lies.
another 3 hours of this conversation because honestly, you have unearthed a lot of things that we haven't even considered, right? As fairly younger people, we
Yeah.
haven't even considered. And just looking at your history, your legacy over 40, because sorry, I don't want to say your age, but you said you were born in 1962.
No,
So that makes you 62.
62.
62. So if you, I'm guessing 3 to 4 decades of advocacy and journalism. And honestly, just to see how passionate you still are about Nigeria, because you've seen Nigeria go from bad to worse to okay to this to whatever it is that we're in right now. And to hear you say that you're still ready to go the distance, you still believe in Nigeria, then as a fairly younger person, I should also believe in
younger
Nigeria. And the younger
persons,
people should
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
be like
It's just
you.
that they don't, the younger persons, and that's why you heard me already preempting even before
Yeah.
we're getting to this end, this wrapping up of the program, of the podcast. But I've been saying, more CSOs should come on board and more partners should come on board to
Yeah.
support them, because
It's just like
voices-
what you are. It's just like what you are doing now. What you are essentially doing is to amplify the work of the CSOs.
exactly.
The
And
development
the
work that is going on that people don't know about.
Yeah.
For instance, somebody who watches this program today or this podcast will now know that it is wrong to pay for birth certificate.
Yeah.
What you are doing is amplifying it. You are telling everybody that look, this is the work PRIMORG has done, and that you can support other organizations even without even giving them anything. You can actually stop being corrupt at your location,
At your own
at your
location.
very, very location. You should also get some support, because if you don't have the support and you begin to run continuously, a time will come you run dry, because you
That's
also
true.
need to run your organization. So
That's true.
if it is possible for an organization to say, okay, for this podcast, this is what we can provide for you to run. How many of you running it? This will give you this money. Will give this money. It will also help you to do more
To
episodes.
do more
To do
episodes.
more.
That's
Do
correct.
more episodes.
Yeah.
Promote it on social media. Even who says you cannot? You can also do town hall.
Exactly.
On your podcast.
Yeah, on podcast. Town hall. Outside.
go.
You can
On
do-
the street.
On the street, you can go to the street and do town hall and
Yeah.
Yeah,
ask
go to
people.
Bazang. I have to visit that place just because we mentioned it.
So tell me the day and time, I'll take you there.
Okay, after the show, let me
Yeah.
not talk
Maybe
too
we'll go
much
there
here.
and have fish. There's some guy.
Oh, they have
I buy fish from there. Anytime I want to eat fish, I actually buy from Biazin. But it wasn't the fish guy I was looking for that day.
Okay, if you say so.
No, the fish is good. I'll hook you up with the fish. Yeah. So I mean, let's take some closing words from you.
Yeah, I appreciate you
what you said.
for inviting me, and I like your passion.
Thank you, sir.
I will also say that at the beginning of PRIMORG 6 years ago, you were also instrumental to some of the work that we did, provided us opportunity to have free airtime, which we still enjoy in Kiss FM. We don't pay for politics extra twice a week. They gave us that to do our advocacy, and it was because you saw me and you said, Oga, when do you want to start? Are you ready to start now? Because we want your voice on our radio. And we started. That was something that you did. And you have also started this now. This is an episode that I'm coming in after you have run some. And I believe that you guys are out there with the sky being your limit. And I also crave for support for your program. I will encourage you to venture into partnerships. Look out for people who have the same ideas. You can't run this race alone.
Yeah.
That has taught us a lot of lessons at PRIMORG. In fact, some people call us collaborators.
The collaborators.
Yeah, because our middle name is to collaborate with people,
Yeah.
our organizations. We don't compete with anybody. We collaborate. And the Nigerian system is a system that we need to change. For you out there, you have a part to play. You have a role to play. And if you do not play that role, nobody will play that role. You just have a role to play. You need your step to be taken. You must take that step. Participate. Vote. Hold your leader accountable.
Accountable.
Write letters. Call them. Tell them this, what you went to the village and the road is bad, what is happening. Let them know that you are there so that they understand what they are doing. If you do not participate, they will just sit down and they will not do anything. I want everybody to have faith in this country. Nigeria will definitely be great. We are taking steps that successive governments in the past have been taking. The fact that they even say, let us hold a national conference, whether they even hold it well or they don't hold it well.
The fact
that they even say, let us hold a national conference suggests to me that somebody know that something is wrong somewhere. And that by error of commission or omission, one president will come one day. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not take the chance to do it, one person will come one day and say, look, enough of this. Let us do the right thing.
Wow. All right. So you've heard it from the executive director of PRIMORG, the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, proudly supported by MacArthur Foundation. You can see their logo on the screen as well. I want to say thank you again, sir, for coming through
so much
on the DevNow podcast. So please, you can see our handles, and you can, of course, we shared that of PRIMORG earlier, and you've seen some of their success stories. Please go on their platform. On YouTube, it's PRIMORG TV. For the others, you can see the handles on your screen. Go there, like, comment, share. It's not only we're catching cruise that you're sharing, because this is important. If there's no peace in the country, you cannot catch cruise. That's just the truth.
You should put on a t-shirt.
You can't. I should do that, right? If there's no peace, you can't catch.
It's
going to be a lot. But I'll find a more interesting way to, put that out. Thanks for that idea. So, share those kind of content. You go on YouTube, you see what they're doing with the podcast. They are very active online, very, very active online. Please share those kind of content. Also, it's not only videos that you just want to laugh about, because this is our country. Eventually, if you ask some people that have jackpot, they would even tell you that if not to come back and stay, I want to come back home often, but sometimes when I think of the problems, I just say, see, let me just stay where I am. Well, we can't say that, we can't overemphasize it. Just keep doing your bit, like the ED of PRIMORG has said, from your own space. So that there is a quote from a friend of mine. He said, and I always pray each time he says it, that it doesn't happen.
What does he say?
He says those who are waiting to eat and loot the country are more than those who have already looted the country. Wow. So do your bit where you are, and we'll catch you on the next episode of DevNow.